Welcome to Of Sound Mind and Spirit. I'm Shelly.
And I'm Lisa. We're sisters walking together on a journey of faith. We're not perfect.
We definitely don't have all the answers. We're inviting you to walk with us as we explore ways we can better know and grow in our faith together.
Welcome back to Of Sound Mind and Spirit. I'm Lisa.
And I'm Shelly. Today, we are sharing something a little different. We're going to talk about an experience that surprised both of us and really changed the way we think about prayer and our relationship with God.
Earlier this year, Shelly and I attended a semi-silent retreat together, which sounds a little strange that we did it together, with semi-silent, had long periods of silence, no phones, no distractions, just silence.
Yeah. And honestly, it was not easy. At first, the silence felt very awkward and even uncomfortable. But as the hours went on, we began discovering things we didn't expect to find. Things about ourselves, about our own prayers, and about how God speaks when we finally slow down enough to listen.
Yes. And in this episode, we're diving into what we learned from that semi-silent retreat experience, why silence matters in the spiritual life, what Scripture saints, why they encourage it, and how we can bring small moments of silence into our everyday life without going on retreat.
Right. And by the end, our hope is that you, our listeners, will feel encouraged to create a little more quiet in your life and more space for God to speak in your heart.
All right. So let's get started.
Okay.
The very first thing we want to talk about, Shelly, I think is what's the difference between, or is this too deep to start, external silence and internal silence? Do you want to kind of give us a definition of, is it just being quiet?
Well, one of the things that I think I really learned on the retreat is that there is a difference between external silence and interior silence. So I think a lot of us know what external silence is. That's where we close our mouths or where we try and minimize the noise and chaos and crush of everything going on outside in our lives. Like there's just constant noise, constant stuff. And interior silence is kind of like that. It's a lack of interior silence is what woke me up at 3:00 this morning. And I haven't been back to bed since. But it is when you wake up and your mind is racing. And if you're one of our listeners and you're of our age, you are probably very familiar with this. I know Lisa does, but when you wake up and you can't get your mind to turn off and you're thinking of all the things you forgot to do, didn't do, must do, all these worries come into your head. So that's the difference between external silence and interior silence.
Is trying to quiet, the interior silence is trying to quiet all of that so that you can be peaceful and and that's where you can experience God. Okay. So do you want to jump into a little bit about the retreat?
Well, I want to clarify a couple of misconceptions people might have about just silence. Because I used to think that to be silent meant you're not doing anything. And silence is not doing nothing. I thought that to have silence, you must be in isolation. And it's not being in isolation, which we experienced on the retreat. We'll talk about that in a second. And silence is not for perfectly holy people. It's for every people. It's for every person. It's something that we can, but we have to be intentional and we have to practice it. Silence is that space where we can become aware of God's presence in our lives.
And it's okay if it's a little uncomfortable at first, as we experienced. Okay, so let's talk about the retreat. We, the two of us, kind of signed up independently from one another. We didn't, because someone might say, "Why did you go together on a silent retreat?" which sounds counterintuitive, really. But we really signed up independently of one another. Our dear friend, Lisa Hendy, who was in our previous podcast episode, and our friend Amy Catapan, who was in podcast episode a couple of episodes ago, they were co-hosting this retreat for writers, for Catholic writers. And so that's what led us each to want to go. And then we ended up going together, and it was in Chicago.
Mm-hmm. And initially it was, you could be more silent on the retreat or you could be semi-silent on the retreat. Mm-hmm. And I think you and I both checkmarked semi-silent, meaning that we opted in to talk at lunch and all the meals. We opted to,
there were small group sessions.
Primarily. Yes. Yeah. The small group sessions.
Where you could talk about your writing. Mm-hmm. But neither one of us had gone on a silent retreat. Mm-mm. And we were both a little hesitant. Yeah. Terrified, hesitant. Just not sure what it meant. It's a little, I know people who love it, absolutely love it, but it was a little scary to say, I want to go and not talk for, I think we went on a Thursday. So it was like 3.5 days. So, we flew to Chicago and went. And let's just talk about what we were worried about before we talk about what we experienced.
Well, honestly, because we're such social people and we went to see Amy and Lisa and see who of our other friends that we know in the Catholic writing world would be there. Mm-hmm. And we like to engage with people and we like to talk with people. And that's primarily why I did. Mm-hmm. But without going into too much detail about the retreat, I just want to say that it was very surprising how well the day went for me when I was honoring the silent moments. Mm-hmm. Because when you put a lot of social people together, yes, we're not supposed to talk between the talks and after meals, but we did. I mean, you'd forget. You'd come off from lunch and you'd walk out and you'd be like still talking, and you're like, oh wait, we're supposed to be silent. Ha ha ha.
That was difficult, seeing someone in the hallway and like bumping into them and not saying, oh, I'm sorry. And then you're like, do I say I'm sorry or do I not say? Like, that was stressful. In the beginning, I felt like it was a lot of stress. What do I do? How do I do this? What do I say? And we both opted for talking meals so that we could have that opportunity. And the first day, I don't know, that first evening, it was nice to go back to your room. We each had our own rooms and be silent. And I really enjoyed it. But it's funny for me, we'll just jump into that. The next day, talking breakfast, and then the talks, and then, I think we had mass, or I can't remember everything. But I think by lunch, the talking I felt like was interfering with my silence. I actually was a little irritated to be talking. I was enjoying it so much. And that really surprised me.
Well, same thing here. And I remember that, so Friday we took all our meals together, sat at the same table, mm-hmm. visited with some really great new friends. And Saturday morning I was thinking, what's missing? And I thought, I need more silence. Mm-hmm. I need more silence. So we had gone to mass in the morning and we sat next to each other in mass, and then they dismissed us. Those of you who are eating in silence can go through the buffet line, get your food, and go to the quiet room. Mm-hmm. And I remember I looked at you and you looked at me, and I got up and you were like, where are you going?
Well, you know why that was great? Because I actually was having the same experience, thinking, I don't want to be talking this much. And so I actually had thought about doing quiet meals at that point. So when you got up and went, I thought, okay, I'm going to, and I think our dynamic together was hard through this. It was great to have somebody with you, but it was hard at the same time because we wanted to cheat and rather than meeting a lot of newer people, we, kind of sat together a lot. So the initial experience was, apprehension. How do I tune it all out? What am I going to do? Or how is this going to work for 4 days? And then I feel like that morning, Friday morning, getting up, they told us when sunrise is. And I am not a morning person. And when they had it posted, and I thought, I'm just gonna get up. And so I got up and I wanted to walk outside, and I have a thing with the birds. And so they had all these acres of grounds. And so I got up purposely to go watch the sunrise. And I go out there, and it was just so peaceful and lovely. And I felt like, and I've written about God speaking to me in the nature and birds and all of that. And I just really felt overwhelmed by that. And you can tell your experience of getting up and walking outside that morning.
Oh, so you beat me going outside because I had planned to get up and go outside also, but I didn't see the timetable. And I remember coming out there and you were already there. And I was like, okay, well, I don't want to be in her space. And the grounds are large enough. I don't want to be in her space because, we're here independently, together independently. So I walked around to a whole another section of you kind of saw me and I kind of waved at you that morning. And I walked around to another part of the property and I sat and I started writing and just enjoying the morning. And I look up and there you are.
Yeah.
So
it was a weird,
moment.
Walking around. We did take some pictures of each other, I think.
We did.
Privately,
and that's one thing. I did not put my phone away the entire time. I did not use my phone, but I did use it to take pictures.
I did too.
And I will say the first night, I can't remember if it was the first night or the second night, I did use my phone. Like I checked my email at the end of the day and texted my husband, hey, everything's good. And it wasn't until I think Saturday that I thought, why did I do that? I should have turned the phone off or put it on. But just having the phone was a distraction.
Right.
But I didn't have a camera except for the phone.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's kind of that double-edged sword. Like I love pictures. I love taking pictures. And it kind of makes you want to have I have a huge camera, but like a small digital camera so that you don't have to have your phone with you. And because I agree, I had it on Do Not Disturb, but I think Saturday was like football, college football. And so my family was chatting. And so even though I had it on Do Not Disturb, if it lit up, you know what I mean, to take a picture or whatever, I could see all the stuff. And that was distracting.
Yeah. But I also question whether I should have even been taking pictures.
True.
Because was that breaking silence? I don't know. But I wanted to tell you some of the... Oh,
okay.
Sorry. I was going to say, I wanted to tell you a couple of things that I realized.
Okay.
While we were on retreat. I realized how loud we are. And these are kind of our lessons learned on the retreat.
You don't mean just us, right? You and I are loud, or you just...
Oh, no, we all are. I just mean that because we're social creatures. I talked about that already, but I just kind of realized how loud even my own thoughts were. All the things that I was worried about were coming to the surface. The writing time was nice because I was working on a project and I got it cranked out. It wasn't the project I wanted to work on when I signed up for the retreat, but it turned out to be the project that God had in my hands at the day that we went on the retreat. So I just accepted that and moved forward with it.
The word I wrote down for me, silence, and what I told people when I came back was, I found it freeing.
Yes.
I am an extrovert. I'm very social, but not having to talk to people. The expectation of you don't talk to them. Even when you're just bumping into them in the hallway because it was communal bathrooms, or you're, getting your coffee or whatever, just, it's not, there's nothing. You say nothing. You smile at them and you say nothing. And it was freeing because it freed my mind from all of the busy, oh, how are you? What are you doing? Oh, that's great. How's it going for you? All of those things, to unplug from my phone, my email, text messages. It's like it gave me a reason, an excuse I felt like I needed to just ignore all of it, everything at home, everything I hadn't done, whatever was going on in the outside world was freeing. And I loved it. And that was my big takeaway was I'm doing a podcast right now, so I am talking, but like, I don't have to be talking all the time. I don't have to make idle chit chat all the time. It's okay to just be still and silent. Yeah. Yeah. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. I think that since I've gotten back, I have posted on social a whole lot less. And I don't know, you, our listeners might notice that there's been a lot less interaction on our Instagram and Facebook. And that's primarily me. It's, to me, it was noise that I realized I wasn't missing. And I feel bad because I went on pilgrimage after that and everything else. And I feel bad because I'm not sharing outwardly like I used to, or even feel like I should be. But at the same time, I feel like it's this silence that God is telling me it's okay not to share everything, every moment that I'm experiencing. I don't have to post just to jump in on what everyone else is posting. And so for me, that was a silence that I kind of came home with, that it's okay. It's okay.
You were telling me about a book by Cardinal Sarah. Is it Sarah or Sarah?
I think it's Sarah. It's written Sarah, but I think it's pronounced Sarah.
Okay. And it was The Power of Silence?
Yes.
Yes. And you sent me a quote from that. And as you were speaking, I thought of that. Silence is the language of God. Noise is the language of the world. And so without silence, God disappears in that noise. And I thought that was really exactly what we experienced.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think that one of the reasons I've avoided silence, and I think many of you listening might also, maybe you can identify with some of it, is I think that I'm kind of worried about where my mind will go if I am silent. We spend a lot of time distracting ourselves from whatever is out there. We don't want to think about certain things or experience certain things, hard things. And I think that I've worried that if I'm silent, I'm going to have to address those things, that God wants me to do hard things. And sometimes it's easier to turn on a Netflix show, or a podcast, or music, or, something else as I'm going about my day, than it is to sit and be open to whatever it is God wants to share with me in that moment, because, it can be difficult.
Right. Well, let's talk for a few minutes about why silence is necessary for our spiritual life. Because again, these are more lessons that we've kind of picked up on from our experience. One of them, we kind of already have kind of talked about these a little bit, that the noise of life drowns out the voice of God. And that silence helps us discern kind of God at work in our lives.
Yeah. I think also when you're quiet, like I said, you think about a lot of things that maybe you weren't trying to think about. And in being silent, it makes you more aware of what's going on internally with yourself, good and bad. It can also bring you maybe a little bit more into humility. But for me, definitely being attentive to myself, to my world, to my what's going on in my house, the things that I'm so busy usually rushing around, doing, and then putting in my AirPods to tune out everything else so I can get things done, and maybe not focusing on what's more important.
Right. Lisa, one of the items we brought back from the retreat was a prayer booklet. that they made available for us to purchase. And you found, before we started, a really beautiful prayer by St. Teresa of Calcutta. Would you just, for our listeners, will you read that first section, please?
Okay. We cannot find God in noise and agitation. Nature, trees, flowers, and grass grow in silence. The stars, the moon, and the sun move in silence. What is essential is not what we say, but what God tells us, and what he tells others through us. In silence, he listens to us. In silence, he speaks to our souls. In silence, we are granted the privilege of listening to his voice. Silence of our eyes, silence of our ears, silence of our mouths, silence of our minds. In the silence of the heart, God will speak.
It's just so beautiful.
It is so beautiful. And this comes from just a little, I got to give you the attribution to the book. It is Prayers for Time on Retreat and Throughout the Year, and it's published by Bellarmine Jesuit Retreat House. So give a little attribution there.
I love that idea that it's in silence when we finally notice what our soul is longing for from God. So,
yeah, I mean, yeah.
Oh, and I want to clarify for our listeners. That doesn't mean that we went and we were in silent and we heard all these like amazing things. We're going to this and we're going to this. And I long for that. And I long for this. It wasn't quite that cut and dry. Okay. It was more of I rested and I worked and I left space open for there to be a sense of God's presence. And really what I longed for was that sense of God present in my life. I didn't magically come away with all the answers to my life. I think that's important to say.
That would have been amazing. Would have been amazing. I agree. I think I came out of it with peace, just this sense of peace and calm. And I think I've talked about it on the podcast this year that one of my theme or my phrase for me has been calm joy. And I really felt that. I felt joyful that God is moving in my life and that I experienced that. I think he genuinely revealed his movement, things going on in my life. And I felt a lot of peace and calmness about it. And it really helped me come home. Especially, I would say the week I was home for a week exactly before I left on that pilgrimage that we recorded about a couple of weeks ago. And so that was really important because that week could have been crazy trying to get everything ready to leave for France on that pilgrimage for a couple of weeks with work and this and everything else I had to get done. And I think having that silence, having that retreat leading up to the pilgrimage, which I had the retreat scheduled way before the pilgrimage. I think it worked out how it was intended. And having that really made me realize just how to be calm and listen to God. And I don't know if my pilgrimage would have been the same if I hadn't had this experience with silence and, being open to listening to God in that way.
I like that. I think you're right on that. I definitely saw a difference in how you were preparing, and I definitely saw how you were when you came back. And we talked about that, and I don't know the episode number, so people just have to scroll and look if they want to hear more about that experience.
Just a couple episodes ago. Warriors of France is what the episode is called.
That's right. So let's move on and talk about a few practical ways that our listeners can practice silence in their everyday life. I think we've got some like micro practices, little ways to kind of get it started.
And I think you and I have, when we left there, we flew home together. And I think we spent some time talking about how do we get that? how do we get that peace and calm and silence because we were able to experience God in new ways. So these are things that we've actually been seeking. So one thing I'm always listening to something, whether it be a TV show or a podcast or music. I'm always busy. And so one of the things I've tried to do is really start off without my AirPods.
Start your day.
Without anything in my ears. Yeah. I have started taking my coffee cup and going outside on the patio and just having about 10 minutes of just sitting and trying not to turn on my bird app to listen to my birds, and just not taking pictures and just kind of looking out and noticing the wind and noticing the trees and, that the birds are chirping and just opening my mind to, whatever I'm meant to experience and in taking that time every morning.
Right. Well, I do kind of the same thing because I've noticed that my days that go well start when I get up 45 minutes before everybody else in the house, before I have to take my son to school, et cetera. And I go and sit at the kitchen table with my cup of coffee and I either read my Magnificat. So I spend some time, in prayer. And I also usually do a practice called morning pages, which is where I sit and write. Just you kind of take all that out of your head and put it on a piece of paper. But I can't do it when there's anybody else in the room. I can only do it when I'm in silence. I can't turn on the radio. I can't have people coming and going. So the minute they all start coming downstairs, that's it. It's over. So my best days are when I get up with at least 30 minutes of sitting downstairs by myself, praying and writing. It doesn't always happen. So that's why I guess they're really special to me when they do happen.
Yes. And for me, I had to change my habit. I used to sit in a chair in the kitchen area, and have my scripture readings and my books and all of that. But I found that I was picking up the phone more than because I would have all these random thoughts go through my head and I think, oh, I need to write that down on my to-do list, or I need to, and so I had to physically change my location and to break that habit of picking up the phone. So I do still do my spiritual reading.
Yeah. That's more of a digital silence. And I agree with you 100%. Mm-hmm. You've got to turn the phones off for 5 minutes, even if it's just 5 minutes, that you set it to no distractions or you don't play your games that morning. The worst days are when I don't go downstairs and be quiet. I find myself picking up the phone or checking the news. So I wanted to say one, Lisa, that Dad always does.
I know what you're going to say.
Yeah, because he's told you the same story, I'm sure. Your best thinking is always done when you're driving. Don't turn on the radio. Just drive in silence.
That always drives in silence.
I just drive in silence. Mm-hmm. All my best thoughts come from that. Mm-hmm. And yes, there are days when I just have to decompress and I drive in silence, but
I've started doing that some, not a lot. Sometimes I'll just turn on Hello or the Rosary app or, something like that to, help me stay focused. But there are times when I drive in silence. And I do think about Dad when I do that.
Yeah. Well, anytime I think when your mind is racing, it's a good thing to, if you're not trying to distract yourself, it's a good time to turn it all off and drive because your brain is engaged in the driving part. And that kind of gives you an opportunity not to have all the noise. So
yeah, exactly. Right. Something else is I found myself getting to Mass a lot earlier. So I will go, 15, 20 minutes earlier and sit. A couple of reasons for it. One, the parking lot situation made me seriously aggravated and I was having bad thoughts before Mass. So I stopped. I realized that going earlier made me, try to avoid that and everything.
That's
a lot of churches.
that's kind of a deeper practice than I mean, it's not something I do on a daily basis, go to adoration, but
No,
I
but
do try to go.
It was different when I had one in the neighborhood when I was, in the neighborhood with you, and I'd pass the church constantly. And then I could just, I don't know if it was on the right day, I think it was only one day a week. I think one day a week made it more intentional, and I would pop in more. Let me just pop in and sit with Jesus for a little while. So now that it's perpetual, it's always like, oh, I can do it later. Oh, I can do it later. It's not so, like, oh no, it's only today, So that's just a mental practice for me. I have been better about the digital silence. I think I mentioned that, but also turning off the notifications, putting the phone down, the doom scrolling, and being like, it's not worth it. What am I getting out of this? Agitation? What am I doing? So trying to be more actively present.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, one of the ones we talked about before that we put on the list was to go for a walk outside without headphones.
Yes.
And I have tried that. And I will tell you now that, okay, listeners, if you can do this, that's awesome. I struggle a lot with going for a walk outside without having either something that I'm listening to, whether it's prayer, whether it's an audiobook, or mostly talking on the telephone. My favorite thing to do, Lisa and I used to walk together, especially during the pandemic, because we lived in the same neighborhood. We would walk together for hours. Because there wasn't a lot of, you could go outside.
Do a lot of miles.
We had, I think, was it over 500 miles?
No, I did 100 miles in 1 month. And you did a lot of those miles with me.
Yes. And we would go for like our usual 3-mile walk, but there were days I look back that we were out there for 7 or 8 miles. And so I have discovered when I go outside and try to walk without headphones or not talking, I struggle. Like I slow down. I walk best when I actually call you. It makes the time go by super fast. And I don't realize I've walked 3 miles and all of a sudden I've walked 3 miles. I got to let you go.
Yeah.
So,
but some of my best walking has been when I forget my headphones, not on purpose.
No. I would like to know what our listeners think on that one, whether they are a walk outside in silence person or that'd be fun to know. So.
Yeah. So another one is that I've come to after the retreat was when I'm trying to sit in silence or I'm trying to be peaceful or calm is not to feel guilty about having those intrusive thoughts like my to-do list items or worry about this or that or whatever. So I really try to acknowledge the thought and then just say a prayer quickly. Like, Jesus, I trust in you to take care of this. And then just accept it and then just try to let it go. So it's not about the absence of all of this stuff that you worry about, but just like when I wake up in the middle of the night, especially, just trying to, Jesus, I trust in you. I trust that you're going to take care of this. I'm going to take a deep breath, or like you always start our prayers, come Holy Spirit, just not giving in to the, let me grab my to-do list and write it down, or let me obsess about this. Just, it's okay.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was trying a lot of that this morning with interior silence. I was trying really hard to kind of just calm it all down. I found myself doing a Hail Mary, and I couldn't. I kept singing it from Mass the night before. I'd start the Hail Mary and all of a sudden I'd be lost in other words.
Yeah.
So there's one thing that I learned, and I can't remember where I learned this now, but it's about, it's like a breathing prayer. And it's deep breathing with a specific prayer meditation that kind of helps you like breathe in. And as you breathe in, you say something like you say it in your mind, like, come Holy Spirit. And then on the way out, you be present here today. Or you'd breathe in and say, Jesus, I trust in you. And then on the exhale, you'd say, take care of everything and relax. And it helps with a lot of anxiety too, to kind kind of try and silence all the crazy by focusing on a word or a phrase, even if it's just, um, come Holy Spirit, Jesus, I love you. I mean, just anything, just it's that rhythmic, deep breathing, So
I want to say to you, our listeners, if you are listening and saying, no, 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 like there's too much, I can't, like I struggle with silence. It's okay. We do too. Don't expect to be perfect. Don't expect not to struggle. Start very, very small and be very gentle with yourself. It's okay to feel discomfort. It's okay to have all these crazy thoughts in your head, to not know what to do. Maybe you feel guilty. I have 1,000 other things I should be doing right now. So why am I doing this? Don't worry about it. That's normal. And then maybe start with something really slow, like, quieting yourself, taking your breaths, and saying something like, here I am, Lord, speak, your servant is listening. Maybe start with something like that, an invitation to Christ, to kind of notify yourself that this is what I'm doing, that there's a purpose to this. And I'm just going to let it go and see how I do. And it's a habit like anything else to get into, I would think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And one of the things I read in the building, I forget, there was a habit book. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. You probably know which one I'm talking about. But if you can anchor silence to an existing routine, then you can make that a habit. That was one of the things in the book, was how if every day you brush your teeth, do it in silence. Or if there's something in your daily routine that you can put silence in it, even if it's just for 5 minutes, 3 minutes, you just, drink the first half of your coffee without picking up the phone.
Right.
And that would be an idea. Because remember that when you enter silence, it's a relationship. You're giving God the opportunity to speak to you, or to just be sitting present with you. Maybe he doesn't speak to you in that silence, but it's not something, Lisa, to put on your checklist for the day. It's not a task. You're not going, all right, 3 minutes of silence, check, got that, and move on to the next.
Okay.
It's
not going to lie. Sometimes I do that.
I know you
Just
do.
saying, sometimes I do.
So,
because it is a habit and I want to develop it more. And so sometimes they say the things that don't get scheduled don't get done. So sometimes I have to write it down to remind myself, because otherwise I'll get busy with everything else.
Well, maybe I just leave it with that. Yes, but don't think of it as a task that must be done. Think of it as an opportunity.
Oh, yes.
To include on your list.
I like that. An opportunity. It is an opportunity. It's an opportunity to hear God, be open to God, let his word speak to you, or just rest in the silence and hopefully feel that peace or calm that you need in life.
Yep.
All right. I hope that we've made that practical and not seem, because again, we are not perfect and we don't have all the answers. So we don't want it to seem like we are sitting here telling you exactly the best way to do all these things. We're just our experience. That's all.
Mm-hmm. Right. So I want to say it like this too. You don't need a retreat center, because you can meet God in those quiet moments. And if you ever have the opportunity to go away on a silent retreat, don't be afraid of it. If you have an opportunity, then God has led you to it. And if it's from God, all the doors will open, the crooked road will be made straight, and you'll be able to walk in there, embrace it, give it a try, and see what goodness can come out of that, what peace it might bring you. So.
It's very well said. Our world is very noisy. Our lives are very noisy, just everyone. And I think think having that opportunity to be silent and to whether go on retreat, I will say, on top of the silence of that retreat, it wasn't just the quiet, but it was also the opportunity to worship and spend time in prayer, in community, and mass, and everything else. It was a whole package. So that is also what you get from going to a silent retreat, is the opportunity to really be directed and to dive into what is God speaking to you right now. All right, Shelly, I think that we should, you know me, I like a challenge. I like accountability. So what if we do like 3 minutes of silence, kind of a challenge? I think three is okay. When you're just starting out, 3 can be a long time. It can feel like a long time. But I think if you can do 3, you will feel so good, like you really accomplished something rather than just like 1 minute. Should we issue that? So it would be, okay, so 3-minute challenge. So sit in silence. So find a spot outside, inside, in your car, when you get somewhere and you're by yourself, it doesn't matter. Maybe I would say in the shower, sit down in the shower, whatever, wherever you can be alone. Light a candle, close your eyes, something, whatever you feel peaceful. I don't like closing my eyes. That makes me want to go to sleep. So just something that makes you feel peaceful. And maybe say, speak, Lord, I'm listening. And then be silent. And if you can set the timer on your phone or something, or maybe just try it and see how far you get.
That's a great idea.
I think that's a good place to start if you're not used to it. And if you are one of our listeners who loves silence, you have been one of the ones telling us, because we have a lot of friends who tell us that we needed to go on a silent retreat. Let us know what started it for you and what are your main takeaways from receiving that silence. And on the flip side, if you're new to silence and you're trying it out, where did God speak to you or meet you, or what did you experience from it? Thank you for joining us today on Of Sound Mind and Spirit. We hope that hearing about our experience with silence and the silent retreat, it helps you see silence as not something intimidating, but what it is. And that's an invitation from God.
Yeah. Because Lisa, as we've talked about, silence strips away the noise that we're so used to living with. And it helps us to notice what's kind of happening in our hearts. And when we do that, it opens up a space where God can reach in and communicate with us in a deeper way.
And again, you don't need to go on retreat to experience that. Even just a few intentional moments of quiet can become a powerful place of encounter.
Right. And as you introduced this week, we invite you, our listener, to try taking that 3 minutes of silence challenge. And like she said, set a timer, breathe in, breathe out, and say simply, speak, Lord, your servant is listening.
If you try it, we'd love to hear what comes up for you, your challenges, your insights, any moments of grace that God speaks to your heart.
Right. And we just want to say thank you to our listeners for spending this time with us. And we'll be here until next time.
All right. Bye.
Bye, y'all.